All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Sales Vitamin Podcast, where every episode is going to help you with your professional sales development. You're going to learn how to get better as a sales professional and how to lead your sales team better. And today we've got one of the best to help you do that. He's the CEO and co-founder of Salesflare. It's a nifty CRM program and platform that he's developed. And Jeroen Corthout, welcome to the Sales Vitamin Podcast today, man. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here. And I must say, you have a perfect radio voice. I'm enjoying. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. At least I got that. I don't have the face for the TV, but the voice counts. So that's a good thing. Hey, so let's give I'm excited about this episode because CRM it's a fascinating topic because there's so much out there. There's so much data, and which one do you use? And we'll talk about that, but kind of give the listeners just a high level background of you and kind of how you got to where you're at right now.
Yeah. I can explain why we were so crazy to start another CRM company.
Yeah.
Basically, to make a long story short, I have a background in marketing mostly. I'm an engineer by education, but I never worked in any engineering job, always in marketing jobs.
Okay.
Mostly in healthcare, but not exclusively. At some point, I used to help healthcare companies to make their sales and marketing digital. And I would sell these kind of projects to healthcare companies and also assist them throughout the whole process. We internally use Salesforce for this. It was my first interaction with a CRM. Well, I had a small one before, but that was the first time I had to take it really seriously.
Yeah.
Also, we use Salesforce a lot with our clients who were very happy with that because they were coming from very old systems like Siebel. So they were excited to get something a little newer. But I also saw the issues with Salesforce, and that was mainly that it was great for organizations and it was great for us as consultants to build stuff in, but the usage was usually not really there. For people actually practically using it for their sales, it's very hard. I felt that myself. At first, I was young and naive. I tried to organize myself in Salesforce. I used the task systems and logged all the things, etc.
Yeah.
And I very quickly started hitting a wall where I didn't really feel like doing that anymore. I had better tools at my disposal to organize my sales follow-up, even if it was a simple to-do list in Wunderlist or so.
Yeah.
That just felt way better. And then the rest I organized in my mailbox. And we also always had these discussions internally about what was in Salesforce and what was not in Salesforce. Like our CEO would say, what's not in Salesforce doesn't exist,
Yeah.
So we could have no discussion about it. You didn't put it in there, it's your fault. Now, fast forwards a few years from there, I never really thought we could do anything about that issue until we faced it head on. Like my co-founder and I, we went to a conference. I basically joined to help him sell his software at a big conference. We had a lot of leads, and all these people were interested in buying our software, but we still had to follow them up to basically close those deals. We had like about 130 that were really interested.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of follow-up work to do, and we needed some sort of system to keep track of all that, something that would actually work. And we looked around. We found better software than Salesforce, more aimed at small businesses selling. Thank God. But still, none of it really worked for us. And it wasn't because the software wasn't maybe beautifully designed or easy to use or whatever. It was that the software came with this expectation that we would diligently fill it out, every single thing that happens, every little piece of data we saw. We needed to have that reflex of always putting it in the CRM immediately. So you, for instance, like I email you and you email me back with your colleague in copy, then it's good for me to put the colleague in the CRM, but I need to like you email me back, I'm like, I put the colleague in the CRM. First reflex I have, I don't even like really digest the email. I'm just always CRM, CRM, CRM.
Yeah.
You send me something with your email signature. I'm like, haha, I have John's phone number. I put in the CRM. Or I call you and immediately I'm like, don't forget, put in the CRM. And that just never worked for us. Like we felt like this was an expectation that was imposed on us. That was way too high. And if we didn't meet that expectation, then our system would very quickly fall apart. Because if we didn't fill out all there was in the CRM, then it's not in there. And if the thing is not complete, you cannot rely on it to organize yourself or to find everything you need.
Yeah.
And we were incredibly frustrated because that made that we were making mistakes all the time and we were forgetting things and all that. And then we figured that actually the information we were inputting was already in another place. And for us, we were in business intelligence. It's basically business of pulling data together.
Right.
That didn't make sense to us. Like we were emailing in our mailbox and then we were going into this other system, the CRM, to say that we emailed. Or we booked a meeting in our calendar and we went into the CRM, or we found some stuff in a company database, went to the CRM. There was tracking we were running that was not into the CRM. Nothing was integrated. It's as if the CRM was this manual database that was completely disconnected from anything we had. And at that point, we figured that we could build a system that would connect in all the places where we had customer information and where we were communicating with customers, that it would pull that together. And then essentially it would be an automated system because most of the information can be pulled together automatically. And then there's some things you as a salesperson then still need to curate to make sure that it stays under control. And obviously there still needs to be an option for manual data input. So you can add stuff, you can correct stuff, etc. But we saw that most of it can be automated. And it's based on that premise that we were like, then, okay, most CRMs don't work because they come with expectations that are just not realistic. We can fix that with ours. And that's why we decided to start another CRM company to fix CRM once and for all. Now, it hasn't been that easy. When you think about it like that, it's like, whoa, why haven't I heard about Salesflare before? Why aren't they super famous and stuff?
Yeah.
That we are competing with giant companies.
Right.
First of all, a lot of companies. If you go on g2.com, there's like 650, 660 or so right now.
Yeah, I saw that. Wow.
But then secondly, we're competing with the likes of Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, and these companies are huge and they have really big budgets.
Right.
You're very unlikely actually to find us if you do a very quick search. To find Salesflare, you already need to really look, and then you'll find us. If you go on G2, we're ranked quite highly. You'll see us in the general top 13 now, and then ease of use, we're number 5 or something. So you can find us.
Right.
But it won't be the first thing when you type best CRM or so into Google. So that is an extreme ongoing battle we have there, especially because we don't have a lot of resources and we don't charge a ton of money like some others do, which makes that we cannot spend as much per customer acquisition.
Yeah.
But we are now at about 2,000 companies, a bit more, that use our software actively.
Wow.
All over the world. I'm based in Belgium, but actually 45% of our customers is in the US.
Okay.
And then our next country is the UK. And then I think it's Belgium and the Netherlands. And then we have it done in Australia, the Nordics, Germany, France, and in 60 other countries, I think.
Okay.
All B2B companies, small and medium-sized. So that's a quick roundup of what we do.
Now, from a CRM standpoint, like you said, there's 600 of them out there, and you use them. Some of them are clunky. Some of them take up a lot of time. As a sales professional, what have you done or designed Salesflare to do to kind of add value for the sales professional in the marketplace, so that there's the value there from a Salesflare standpoint? How are you differentiating your product from whether it's one of the big guys, Salesforce or HubSpot, or medium size? What do you think? What do you think sales professionals are looking for in a CRM that you have integrated with your experience?
Yeah, of course. The first question is, who are these sales professionals?
Right.
Let's assume now that they're B2B salespeople.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not on real estate or something. What most people are looking for then, and I mean salespeople now, not the companies,
Right.
is something to organize and follow up their leads, because you don't have one lead. You probably don't have five. If you only have five, you don't need a CRM, because you can do it all with your head.
Right.
It's not too hard. But if you go over 10, 20, then some level of organization is needed, and your head is probably not good enough, or you'll start making mistakes. The bigger the number grows, the more mistakes. And if you then want to deliver the sort of sales experience that your customers expect, where they are each valued as if they're the only one, basically, they don't feel like a number, but they feel like you are actually treating them as a respected customer. Then you need some sort of system, because you cannot just do that based on nothing.
Yeah.
And that system needs to keep track of the communication you're having, because the communication defines the relationship. Like the sort of touch points you have with a person is what defines your relationship, not the data you have about them. That doesn't define the relationship. It's nice info next to it.
Right.
But the communication itself, then it needs to remind you when you're dropping the ball. It needs to give you an overview so you know where to focus. And that are sort of the things we help to do. But we do it in such a way that, first of all, you don't need to do a whole lot of work to make that system work, because that's where it usually fails.
Right.
There's a lot of systems that say we do all these things. What they don't say is, but to do that, you need to do a hell of a lot of work first.
Right.
We know that is not feasible. At least it's not for us, and we think it's not for most salespeople. So we built a system that, concretely, for instance, I want to sell to a company. I can just type their name. Salesflare will have a search engine. It says, "Is it this company you mean?" It's quite a broad search engine. You say, "Yes, it's this company." It immediately comes with the website as well. So name, website, logo. When you hit create, Salesflare will, based on that website, look for more information about the company from company databases. So quite good match rates to get you more info, like how big are they, what's their address, things like that.
Right.
Maybe an email address generally, or a phone number or whatever. You don't need to go look for these things. It's there. Don't need to get their website. The website is basically already ingested for you. Then it'll tell you who you know at the company, because you might have already emailed with people there. You might have had meetings with them. Salesforce can then auto-create these contacts for you, and they'll be suggested because it sees that the email domain is the same as the website address.
Okay.
So it says, well, the person probably works there, right? And then you say, yes, he does. Or you say, well, not relevant. That's another option. Then on that contact, you already have information from maybe his email signature, because he emailed you with an email signature. You don't need to start copying that over manually. It's just already there.
Right.
Or there might be information from social media, because linked to his email address, we found social profiles and a picture and maybe some positions and stuff.
Right.
It can use that also already. So you don't, again, need to copy it from all kinds of places where you maybe find it. The system can do that for you. And then as you add people, it will also go through your mailbox, through your calendar, through your phone. Maybe if you use our email tracking and use our web tracking, that as well. And the moment you add people, it will start compiling the timeline live. So I add you, boom, our emails, our meetings, it's all there. Maybe you've opened emails, clicked on them, went to our site. I can see all that with the click of a button without me having to log it all manually. That's still possible.
Yeah.
If something isn't there, you can log it. But most of the time, it won't be necessary. And it goes to such a point that sometimes customers, after being with us for months, ask, and now if I want to log something manually, where do I do that?
Yeah.
It's nice that they haven't been able, I haven't needed to do it. And then the question is, of course, we should make the button maybe more visible. But we try to make sure that you don't have to do much while still retaining control, because we don't want to make that you don't know anymore what's happening, that stuff is incorrect and all those kind of things. And then our challenge is to make that easy.
Yeah.
Very initially in 2014, when we started, we saw all this magical stuff, and we were making things way too complicated until we then offered it to users, and they were like, "What's happening?"
Yeah.
So then we had to change things so that it's still magic, but it's not magical as in not understandable. So we are constantly on that balance, because our goal in the end is to create something that works, that you actually use. So it cannot just be something automated. It needs to be something easy to understand, easy to manipulate, easy to navigate,
Yeah.
and all those kind of things. So those are actually the automation and the ease of use, easy to set up, easy to understand are sort of our two pillars here.
Okay.
And the ways we differentiate with the names we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I saw on your website, it was pretty cool, the visual aspect of it, the way things drop and drag, and obviously the data you take from, if you're using Gmail or, it's what your system's doing. It seems like is it is doing a lot of that work that you talked about that you had to do manually before with other systems, where you got to key in everything before you can even get started. So I thought that was pretty neat, and the visual aspect of it looks simple. If I'm a prospect for you, or a customer, take me through, how simple or easy is it to get set up with your system? I mean, is this a week-long process, or can someone just get started right away using the system?
I think based on G2 data, which I've seen, G2 is a review platform.
Okay.
It was somewhere around 3 days to get set up with Salesflare. And to give perspective, I think the average for a CRM in their reviews is more like 2-3 months.
Okay.
We're also ranked number one when it comes to easiest to set up CRM system, and that's across these 650 or 660 CRMs they have on G2. This is because basically it works like this. You go to our site, you say sign up, you connect your emails. At the moment you connect your emails, Salesforce starts working for you. You go through a walkthrough where it's shown to you how Salesforce basically works and what it does for you. But at that moment, it's already working. Like, it's creating some contacts, getting some email signatures, getting some social data and all that. And then from there, when you want to start tracking customers, it works exactly the way I explained before. Like,
Yeah.
you with the search, and then it suggests all these things, and everything just fills up.
Okay.
If you have data, of course, you can import it. That's not very hard either. You just take a CSV, put it in, and then map the columns that you have in your CSV, like your Excel file, into Salesflare. You might have to create some fields first if there's stuff you want to put in that it doesn't fit the standard fields, of course. But apart from that, it's pretty okay. And then from there, you can you can customize the custom fields. Like I said, you can customize your pipeline, so you create the sales process the way it is for you. You can set up some integrations. You can have Salesforce run in your mailbox, and you can have the app on your phone. But that's all just click, log in, and it works for you.
Okay. So if I was comparing, let's just say I'm going to compare Salesflare and some other CRMs, what are kind of the top, the key things that you would tell people, here are the top 3 or 4 things that you really need to look at when you're comparing Salesflare to other CRMs? What are those key things that they need to look for in a CRM for their sales force?
Yeah, let me maybe take it more general and explain to you how I think at least is the best way to select your CRM.
Okay.
I'm gonna completely detach it from Salesflare.
Okay.
First, it's good to figure out what you need a CRM for. Way too often, people don't take the time, and it doesn't take long to figure out what they actually need. Like, what is the thing your CRM needs to do? Is it to follow up leads, like what we're talking about now?
Yeah.
Is it to sort of drip people with emails and create some relationship with them?
Okay.
Is it to maybe you have a sort of coaching business where, well, you drip emails as well based on what they're interested in, and at some point they buy from you.
Right.
It's another CRM. Or you might need a CRM for your e-commerce business because you want to create some repeat sales. So you want to be able to send them offers after they buy, or send them back to your abandoned cart. There's all kinds of customer relationship management, and the one system might not be right for you. Once you figure out what you need it for, that makes your search way easier. Then it's not 650, 660 anymore. Then it's, depending on what you choose, a much smaller number. And then the best thing to do is at that point, make a short list of CRMs that you think might be right for what you're trying to achieve, look good for your company. And at that point, involve your sales team. And why am I saying this? The bottleneck you're going to have when it comes to being successful with your CRM is whether your sales team uses it or not. So it's very important you choose something that your sales team will use,
Right.
and you can find that out by having them try it. Secondly, if you try something yourself, decide it's the best. Maybe you know your sales team very well, and that's good, but you won't have the same level of buy-in. If then it's sort of like you've chosen what's best for them and you enforce it. That's not very nice either. So the best thing is you have the short list. You then go with your sales team through it. They all try the different systems and they actually see what works best for them. Like, what do they see themselves using? And that's not just by taking the CRM, making an account, and then clicking. It's actually like going through the flow of, okay, let's now track an account, let's track another one, and drag them through the pipeline.
Yeah.
Create some tasks, see how that works. I know it sounds like a bit more work, but if you know that 80-90% of CRM implementations fail to meet their objectives, it makes sense to put in a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Actually, our customers that are successful are the ones that take it a bit more seriously. Where then when you select the CRM based on this, I mean, the most important criteria when selecting is your sales team going to use it?
Right.
Because from there, then you can achieve all these other things. Like, they use it, that's good because they will do better follow-up. But then as well, you can better coach them because you actually have a grasp on what they're doing. You see which customers are in touch with, maybe what they're saying to them, where things are, all these kind of things, when they were last in touch. It's all there. And if they have value from it, they will use it. That creates the data. And then it's not just you imposing some kind of management reporting or management control system on them.
Yeah.
And it's a real tool for them, where you then reap the benefits of like better coaching. If somebody leaves, you don't need to start from scratch. It's not like all the relationships walk out of the door.
Yeah.
You can continue them. Same when they're sick. You can do proper forecasts because the data is there, and you don't need to force your salespeople in this kind of bi-weekly sales meeting or weekly sales meeting to update their pipeline.
Yeah.
It's easier to work together with marketing. because marketing can know what is where and who the sales team is talking to, so they won't double talk to them or send them promotions when it's very inappropriate. All these kind of things can work for you, but the sales team needs to use it. And in that, I explained 2 steps already. One,
Yep.
figuring out what you need it for, and then making a short list, and 2, testing it out with your sales team, some actual usage, and see what they want to use. And then 3 is coming together as a team. And when you do your training, you go beyond finding out or explaining what the system does, because CRM systems do a lot of things.
Right.
And you can use them in many different ways. And the danger is, it's good that salespeople understand what it does. Definitely essential step number 1. If you can get there, that's already something. But then if you are, let's say you're 5 people in a team, and every person uses the CRM in a different way, that what you'll find at some point is that if you want to go across salespeople, across the account, and you're like, what's in which stage? This is filled out. Let's pull a segment on that field, or all these things are not going to work because everyone interpreted these things in a different way.
Yeah.
And this part doesn't take a lot of work. It's really sitting together and saying, guys, how are we going to do this? What fields are we going to make? We're not going to make it complex, but for the things that we make, how do we use those? When do we drag things from here to there? Are we going to use the task system? Are you not going to use the task system? Are we going to install this in places? How do we do that collectively the same way? That's going to make collaboration within the sales team, but also with other departments, and just the whole keeping data in a proper way and then be able to build on that so much easier. And I think if you do these 3 things, you're probably ahead of, I think 99% actually of all the companies, because most people trip up on one of these steps, if not all 3.
Yeah.
And they're so essential to make it really successful. It makes a big difference.
I know one of the big things that I've seen and used with CRM systems, some CRM systems are designed, you can get bogged down spending 6 hours of your day keying in information and using the CRM system rather than selling. So what's a good proportion in your experience that how much time should a good CRM system, from an efficiency standpoint, how much time should it take? How much time should you really use or be involved in your CRM system each day?
If you're in the same CRM system and you don't have a choice, I would say use it as far as it makes sense that you can get return from it.
Yeah.
But then you're hitting that wall of is what I was talking about, the expectations of the CRM. If they're too high, well, you're hitting against that, and it doesn't make sense to then take it to the maximum, probably, unless you're doing some lower volume sales where the more accurate you have the information, the better you organize everything, the higher your chance of success. Then it might make sense to maximize things there.
Right.
But then I think you could ask the question in a different way and wonder, in an ideal world, how much time should the CRM take from you versus you spending time with your customers? And I think the less, the better.
Yeah.
But that's more something that one, the software should solve, and secondly, then on your end, like the way you use it, optimizing that can solve as well. Our goal is to say it in an abstract way, minimize your software time and maximize your time with customers. But yeah, part of it is dependent on the user as well, of course. And then if you use other systems, they might optimize for other goals.
Yeah. What are some of the key sales skills that you see right now? If you were advising or talking to some young men and women that are thinking about getting in the sales profession, or even transitioning to the sales profession, what are some key sales skills that you see right now that people need to start developing?
Um, if I would have to pick, I think it would boil down to empathy and to organization skills, like keeping yourself organized, at least.
Yeah,
With empathy, I mean um, what I see way too often, and it's also a bit of a danger of coming into this digital world, first of all, and secondly, where things always need to scale further.
yeah,
The whole sales automation thing unleashed this lack of empathy kind of thing, even more than before,
yeah,
where it's harder to build up the empathy with who's on the other side. It's easier to treat them as numbers. And the thing is, if you do that, you lose connection and you lose efficacy. Too many messages we all get on a daily basis. When you read them, you're like, you wonder like, how could anyone ever buy based on this?
yeah.
How are they trying to trigger me? I don't get it.
Right.
What were they thinking when they wrote this? And that's just because it's hard when you're automating things to imagine that there's humans at the other side.
Yeah.
A simple trick there is to before you automate something, do it manually a bunch of times. Like before I start blasting a bunch of people with the same message, maybe take each person separately, tailor it specifically to them. Think like, what would make this guy react?
Yeah.
Do that a bunch of times. It might be a slightly different for different people, but at some point you'll see a pattern, and then you can put that pattern into a generalized thing, maybe with a personalization to it.
Yeah.
um, that is the easiest way, at least for me, to make sure that I don't lose the empathy when I start automating things. But then another common issue, but this is a much older one, is you get on a call with a salesperson, and instead of trying to understand what issue you have, which nuance of the issue that they solve you have, what your context is, what the blockers are, why you're still with your current solution, all these kind of things, why you haven't switched yet, understand all these small things. They just move to the presentation and start pitching you why their solution is the best.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not difficult. I think anybody can do it if they just apply themselves to it.
Right.
I think personally,
Yeah.
people have different opinions about it. Like with singing, like can anybody sing or not? Big question. But
Yeah.
um, that's for the empathy part. I think really connecting with your customer is the key there. It's hard also nowadays when you jump from Zoom call to Zoom call uh, to to keep that up. I've had times myself when I sort of went into Zoom. How did I say it? Zoom burnout almost.
Yeah. The Zoom fatigue.
Um, yeah, Zoom fatigue. I think the key there is to go into every call expecting something new, meeting a new person, and really going for that again and again. Really meeting people. That's where you keep that empathy flowing, and where you'll be more successful as a salesperson.
Yeah.
Now then, to the second part, I said empathy. What was the other? Organization skills.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's something I touched on before already. That's what our software also helps with.
Right.
It's making sure that you can do that at scale, because while doing it one person at a time is already a challenge for many people, just because they don't go there. I think doing that at scale is extra hard, because you cannot just do that by managing chaos or something. We all like to think that we can just go and wing it.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the best salespeople are incredibly organized.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
they know exactly when to call the customer again. They do that. The customer respects them for it, for following up at the times that work for them, that make most sense, knowing what their issues are, thinking along with them to get it to the next step, to actually solve their issue. Because mostly, well, prospects want to have I want to have their issue solved. It's just that uh, you're not helping with solving it. And if you want to do that at scale, you need quite some organization. You need to know where everybody is when you next need to follow them up, what you've last discussed with them, who they were exactly. Again, if you're in B2B sales, it gets more complex. It's not one person. Often it's like you have multiple people at the organization. What's each person's role? What do they think about it? All these kind of things need to be tracked. um, yeah, and that's where software comes in.
Yeah.
Or you build some system for yourself, of course. That's possible too. I've seen some people that did this successfully, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I think some key things I heard from you there were, I really think a good CRM system, because sales is a process, and there are, when you follow the process and the buyers line up and those things, I think the CRM system helps you through that process, or a good CRM system helps you follow that process and makes it more simple.
Yeah, yeah. Process is important, even if you don't like always following the process. I personally don't. Like every customer is different,
Yeah.
and I think just keeping that in mind is also what helps with the empathy.
Yeah.
But then there's the opposite situation where you don't have a process. Well, I think it's better to deviate from the process than to have none. In the sense that if you have a process, then you can show the customer the next step, and it's easy to guide them. Like
Right. And
if you
lead
don't know
them
what the
through
next
the
step
sale.
is, yeah, you cannot lead them, right?
Right.
But then if you know what the next step is and you feel that the next step is not right for them, they want to take it another direction, then you can do that. And I think you need to allow yourself that flexibility while still in general having that process.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the best way for the listeners and prospects to get in touch with Salesflare and to get in touch with you? How do they contact you and get in touch with Salesflare? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, if you want to find out about Salesflare, it's just our website is salesflare.com, and
Okay.
Flare is Flare. You can get in touch with the team by clicking on the little chat button we have there. You can obviously read all about the software without having to get in touch as well. Check out our videos and knowledge center, and our blog. We have a lot of articles about sales there. And the software itself, you can try for initially 7 days, but you get extra days on the trial as you set it up. And it
Okay.
goes, if you set it up, you get to 30 days, I think,
Okay.
or more, even if you're a larger team. And if you want to get in touch with me directly, you can do that on LinkedIn. There's
Okay.
only one person with the name Jeroen Corthout, so you cannot miss. But please use a personal message with your LinkedIn request. I get a lot of LinkedIn spam, I'm sure, like most of us, every
Yeah.
day. So if you don't include a personal message, I will consider it as spam. I have no way of knowing it isn't. But if you include a personal message, I'll certainly accept your connection request and we can have a chat.
All right. So all you listeners, make sure you get to the website, check it out. It's got some great stuff there. The blog is really good too. They have a lot of good sales information and sales articles. I was looking at that earlier in the week, and some really good stuff.
Thank
I
you.
mean, there's some great value there. The website gives you a good idea of the product and the simplicity of it. So make sure you check that out, and then connect with Jeroen on LinkedIn for sure. So one last question. I ask every guest this question. And if you were going to give one sales vitamin today, for the sales professionals that are out there or a sales team that's out there, what's the one sales vitamin or one sales piece of advice that you want to leave with them today?
I'm going to try to go for something I didn't say yet. Something really simple. I was in a workshop earlier and I wanted to bring it up, but then didn't. Try to find the most human channel to connect with your customer. Like you can call people, you can email them, but I personally feel like there's an enormous gap in between the two. And often chat is actually a great way to fill that gap. It's not as intrusive. You can send it any moment of the day, and it's very conversational. So I always try to get people on chat. It's just a great way of staying in touch. And then in between, if you want to make it more official, you have emails. If you want to get closer, you call with each other. But I think there aren't too many people in a sales context that use chat yet or use it correctly. But I definitely would encourage doing more of it.
So humanize that touch, that approach, humanize that part of the sales process. Yeah, that's a great sales vitamin. It's been great having you on today. I think the listeners got a lot of information about just CRM, that product in itself, and the what they need to look for, and if they're going to invest in a CRM system, what they need to really look at and the keys there to help them. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for what you're doing in the industry.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
You bet.